Over 60? Discover the 4 shocking vitamins you must avoid and the 4 incredible ones you need daily. Caroline flipped through the pages of her late-night internet search with increasing agitation. 4 shocking vitamins you must avoid. The headline throbbed in her mind, painting a vivid picture of peril where she thought there was only safety. It was supposed to be simple. She was merely trying to reclaim her health after dedicating years to her family. Now, in her cozy kitchen filled with snapshots of family vacations and holiday milestones, the familiar warmth felt colder. She'd spent decades trusting the gentle advice of physicians. But what if everything she knew about nutrition was wrong? As she scanned the articles illuminating new dangers lurking in the supplements she had shelled out for, her stomach twisted. Common vitamins could be doing you more harm than good. The words echoed, reverberating against her heart. Every crumb of discomfort began adding up, sweeping away her hard-earned confidence. Did she really want to throw away the traditions that shaped her? Doubts tightened their grip like a vice. What if those bottles she stashed in the corner cabinet, her safety net, were actually snakes in disguise? Before Caroline could collect her racing thoughts, the front door's familiar creak split the air. Jamie, her daughter, stood at the threshold, her return a harbinger of both warmth and unease. The last time they spoke, her words had been sharp, filled with advice and unsolicited reforms. Jamie's nutritionist pedigree clashed so violently with Caroline's steadfast beliefs that every conversation sparked like a flame to dry leaves. Now, she braced herself for whatever storm lingered. "Hey, Mom, I just got back." Jamie's enthusiasm was infectious, but Caroline couldn't match it. Instead, she felt more trapped, caught between the life she built and the new ideas storming in like a reckless tide. Their conversations often became a battleground, love tangled in resentment, her maternal instincts pitted against Jamie's modern ideals. "Mom, maybe we can chat about what you've been taking," Jamie proposed, the shadows of their benign misunderstandings already drifting in the room. Caroline's mind raced, filled with contrasting memories from Jamie's childhood nights spent cooking together, laughter echoing, and the sweetest taste of bonding. Yet, as Jamie's professional conviction surfaced, Caroline's defiance flared. Who would dare challenge the authority shaped by years of experience? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Caroline's breaths came irregularly as Jamie pressed on. Every detail shared felt like a challenge to her legacy, darkening her heart with an unsettling mix of fear and anger. With every statistic Jamie presented, Caroline's resolve began to erode, replaced by an overwhelming ache of vulnerability. Just when she believed their discussion would yield common ground, Jamie delivered a statistic that rocked her core, one that jangled every nerve in Caroline's body. It was a warning, a call for action that pushed Caroline's anxiety to a breaking point. With her quiet world uprooted, will Caroline step into the unfamiliar ground Jamie presented? Or will she retreat safely into the sanctuary of her old beliefs? The question hung heavy and unresolved, thick with the weight of uneasy love and shared history. The air crackled, leaving both women teetering on the brink of acceptance or defiance, staring into the uncertain horizon of what it could mean for both their futures. Caroline's heart pounded in her chest, each beat echoing the clash of her lifelong values against the modern wisdom her daughter wielded. The tension between them filled the kitchen like a slow-burning fire, threatening to ignite at any moment. Jamie's passion was evident, but through her daughter's fervor, Caroline caught glimpses of herself, of her own values buried under years of familial devotion and tradition. "Mom, you're not just taking vitamins. You're impacting your future," Jamie pressed, her voice a mix of urgency and concern. Caroline clenched her fists, fighting the rising tide of defensiveness. How dare Jamie question her choices? Yet, deep within, the seed of doubt rooted itself further with each statistic Jamie rattled off. "What if I told you that some of those supplements could lead to more health problems? Jamie challenged, her eyes wide, reflecting both fear and determination. Caroline felt her composure wavering, the walls she built over decades threatening to crumble. Are you saying I've been poisoning myself all these years? Caroline's voice shook, the accusation cutting deeper than intended. Not poisoning, Mom. Just misguided. Jamie took a deep breath, searching for the right words. It's like when we used to bake together. We thought we were making something healthy, but without the right ingredients, it just didn't turn out the way we expected. Caroline's thoughts flickered to those days, the aroma of freshly baked goods filling the house, laughter bubbling around the kitchen island as they blended batters and poured them into pans. But now, those memories felt ominous, as if underlying truths were finally surfacing. I trusted those doctors, Caroline blurted out. They assured me these were the right choices. And they likely meant well. But times are changing, and research continues to evolve, Jamie countered, her voice steady yet passionate. I'm not trying to dismantle your past. I'm trying to build a healthier future with you. Silence hung between them, heavy and charged, as Caroline's thoughts wrestled with her emotions. She could feel Jamie's sincerity, yet the panic of change constricted her chest, threatening to suffocate her resolve. What are you trying to say? Caroline asked finally, her voice quieter now, the fight reluctantly seeping from her spirit. I'm offering to look at your routines together. Let us fact-check everything, what you take, what you eat. Don't you want to know what's really good for you? Jamie leaned in, her expression softening. You deserve to feel vibrant and healthy, Mom. Let us work on this together. For the first time in days, a flicker of curiosity ignited in Caroline. What if Jamie was right? The possibility of reclaiming her health was appealing, but it also struck fear deep within her. The very thought of dismantling her accumulated wisdom felt like a personal betrayal. Yet was it actually an opportunity to grow? Caroline hesitated, weighing the safety of familiarity against the daunting prospects of change. Could she risk the lessons learned over the years, embracing an evolving journey that also meant embracing her daughter? All right, she murmured, her eyes searching Jamie's. Let us start reviewing everything. A glimmer of hope sparked in Jamie's expression, yet it was shadowed by the reality of the work ahead. Caroline could feel the breadth of what they were about to uncover, the layers of not just vitamins, but the deeper roots of her beliefs. But as Jamie smiled, embodying both relief and determination, Caroline couldn't shake the voice of anxiety whispering in her mind. What if she discovered something far more daunting than just the truth about her vitamins? With this new chapter on the horizon and the uncertainty looming ahead, Caroline found herself at the precipice of transformation. Now, she had to ask herself, how far was she willing to go in this pursuit of knowledge, and what would it reveal about her past? Caroline awoke the next morning with an unfamiliar sensation swirling within her, a mix of apprehension and hope. The sunlight filtered through the kitchen window, illuminating vivid memories of Jamie's determined gaze. The moment they agreed to examine her health choices ignited something she hadn't felt in years, the urge to challenge the status quo. She set her intention to be an active participant in her life, not a passive recipient of advice. As she brewed her morning coffee, Caroline mentally compiled a list of her current vitamins and supplements. Each name echoed with years of endorsements. Yet, she recognized the flaw in her approach. She had never actually questioned their efficacy out of reliance on tradition or habit. She could hear Jamie rifling through notes in the living room. The sound was both comforting and alarming. Caroline stood there, hands playing with the ceramic mug, grappling with the fear of the unknown that lay in the way forward. Would dismantling her regimen force her to confront deeper truths about her past choices? Mom, Jamie called out from the living room. Are you ready? The question lingered in the air like an undone promise. Caroline inhaled deeply, bolstered by growing resolve, some internal battle giving way to a keener perception of her own needs. Give me a minute. I'm coming, she replied, her voice steadier than she felt as they gathered around the kitchen table, papers and bottles strewn about. Jamie's enthusiasm was palpable, a stark contrast to Caroline's cautious demeanor. She watched as Jamie began itemizing each vitamin, pulling up the latest research for their review. The ease with which Jamie navigated through facts and data revealed a world Caroline had previously overlooked. What about this one, Mom? Jamie held up a bright orange bottle. You've been taking these for years. Caroline examined the label, feeling as though she were looking at a relic of her past. Those are supposed to be good for heart health, she said tentatively, memories of her doctor's reassuring voice surfacing. Maybe, but let us see if there's any new research, Jamie said, her fingers tapping at her tablet, the digital screen illuminating her focused expression. A moment later, Jamie's brow furrowed. There have been studies suggesting that too much of this can actually contribute to. She hesitated, the weight of what she was about to say palpable. Certain issues you might not want to have. The implications of Jamie's words sent a ripple of distress through Caroline. For years, she had blindly accepted the status quo, and now, she was faced with the unsettling reality that she might have been misinformed. Are we sure we want to go down this rabbit hole? Caroline voiced, the shadow of doubt creeping back in. What if we end up with more questions than answers? Or better ones, Jamie countered, eyes lit with urgency. What if we find something that truly enhances your life, Mom? What if we discover more about you, about what you want? That statement struck Caroline with an unsettling clarity. It had been so long since she had considered her own desires outside of her family role. She was more than just a caretaker. She was an individual with aspirations and needs of her own. A realization had begun to form inside her. The day wore on, filled with revelations and reevaluations of her choices. As Caroline absorbed information through conversations and data, a quiet storm brewed within her. She started to unearth layers of her identity intertwined with the decisions she made based on past beliefs. Just when Caroline thought she grasped the depth of their work, Jamie pulled up a study that revealed the potential pitfalls of their current path. Caroline felt a jolt of anxiety. Would this journey be worth it? Was she prepared to confront potential shortcomings in her own long-held beliefs? Yet, with each troubling discovery came the promise of growth, of clarity. Mom, Jamie said, interrupting the whirlwind of Caroline's thoughts. What if we find something bigger at the end of this? Something about how we've always seen health as a simple formula? The question loomed large, intertwined with the prospect of exploring her relationship with her own choices. Caroline's heart raced. The notion of discovering something more significant made her pulse quicken with both excitement and trepidation. Are you ready for this journey? Jamie asked, voice steadied as Caroline prepared to answer. She recognized that the path stretching before her wasn't merely about vitamins or health. It was a deeper exploration, a chance to confront herself, her past, and who she wanted to be. But as the thoughts settled in her mind, another question surfaced. Would the truth they unearthed drive them apart rather than unite them? With that nagging fear, Caroline braced for the unfolding journey ahead. But could she step boldly into the unknown? Or would she retreat into the safety of her old beliefs, forever missing the chance to redefine her own narrative? Caroline's determination wavered, the weight of her unvoiced fears pressing upon her like a full house of cards ready to tumble. She locked eyes with Jamie, who waited expectantly, the vibrant curiosity glowing in her daughter's expression offering a lifeline. I'm ready, she said, more to convince herself than anyone else. The hours that followed were a whirlpool of information and emotion. Caroline listened as Jamie recited findings, startling statistics spilling forth with every swipe of her finger. Words filled the room: inflammation, absorption rates, bioavailability. Caroline grappled with the concept that all this time, she had unknowingly participated in her own health obsolescence. Each new piece of information forced her to reevaluate the decisions she routinely made as though they were written in stone. What about this one? Jamie pointed to a study that highlighted vitamin D's role in mood regulation, emphasizing its potential to alleviate anxiety. The fervor in her voice felt invigorating, but the implications stitched an unsettling thread through Caroline's thoughts. Here her reliance on products tied to routine began to fray against the fabric of her reality. Isn't too much vitamin D dangerous? Caroline asked, her brow furrowing as she recalled some vague warning from a magazine article she once skimmed. Jamie smiled, undeterred. Only if you take excessive amounts. But here's the kicker: many of us are still chronically deficient. It's like running on empty but thinking you're fully fueled. Caroline bit her lip, torn between old habits and the budding echoes of a new possibility that sprang forth amidst the confusion. So which one should I really avoid then? Instead of answering, Jamie handed her the tablet, displaying a glossy photo of a supplement labeled in red as risky, with bold lettering proclaiming may exacerbate health conditions. Caroline felt a sense of betrayal wash over her. In grappling with the unknown, the realization hit with the jarring intensity of cold water on naked skin. That is shocking. Her eyes widened as she processed the new information. Were we really doing ourselves a disservice all these years? Exactly. It's time to break free from the convention. Jamie was ebullient, but Caroline couldn't shake an inkling of dread as they continued dissecting the contents of their bottles and digging into research. Caroline's palms grew clammy. She hadn't navigated such complexity in years. It felt akin to a labyrinth without defined escape. Each new finding felt like a potential fissure in her carefully constructed world, a world she had relied on to be safe and predictable. "Mom, look at this." Jamie pointed again, this time with less excitement and the edge of concern. "It talks about our perceptions, how we've been conditioned into believing that certain products are beneficial because they've always been there." Caroline's mind was a whirlpool of irony. Her teacher was now her daughter. Here was Jamie, exploring the cutting-edge landscape of health while she, Caroline, grappled with the trepidation associated with letting go of familiar truths. "Maybe I've been living in a bubble," Caroline murmured aloud, the enormity of self-discovery crashing over her. "Exactly," Jamie encouraged. "You always taught me to question things. Isn't it time we applied that to your health choices? To your life?" A flicker of defiance ignited within Caroline. The walls of her perceived limitations began to quiver. She glanced down at the colorful supplements strewn before her bright identities with hollow promises. To reclaim her health, she would need to reconstruct her approach to wellness, but that also entailed confronting her fears. Jamie's gaze was unwavering, a mirror of potential. Caroline's breathing deepened as motivation surged within her. "I want to redefine my narrative. I want to find out what health truly means to me." But before she could exult in her newfound conviction, her phone buzzed, a reminder of her long-scheduled appointment with her doctor looming that afternoon. As she stared at the screen, uncertainty began gnawing at her resolve. Would the truth she hoped to uncover empower her or expose her vulnerabilities? She must face her past decisions head-on. But was she truly ready to confront her doctor about the revelations they were uncovering? The tension in the room thickened, blending anticipation with apprehension. With her heart pounding, Caroline took a deep breath as she prepared to face the day. Would this appointment ignite transformation, or would it lock her deeper into the comfortable confines of denial? Caroline stood in her bathroom, staring at her reflection in the mirror, the pale morning light illuminating her conflicted expression. Each detail of her face seemed magnified, a testament to years of decisions that now felt naive. The reality of her impending doctor's appointment loomed large, an insistent reminder of the impending confrontation between the past she had known and the truth she was now eager to discover. The soft buzz of her phone broke her reverie once more, a gentle nudge that sent her heart racing. She picked it up, glancing at the message that flashed across the screen, a reminder not just of her appointment, but of the weighty conversation waiting ahead. The thought of discussing her health felt monumental, like standing at the edge of a precipice, and she could not help but question whether she was truly prepared for the leap. "Mom, we can do this," Jamie's voice echoed in her mind, an encouraging mantra that both calmed and pushed her forward. Caroline turned away from the mirror, forcing herself to breathe deeply. The prospect of change was intimidating, but something new pulsed inside her. With every step she took toward her daily routine, she resolved to engage her doctor with honesty, articulating every concern that had taken root in her mind. She recalled Jamie's fervor and conviction, a lifeline in this tumultuous sea of doubt. Once at the clinic, she sat in the familiar waiting room, the sterile scent of antiseptic mingling with the anxiety curling in her stomach. Distant conversations floated through the air, their fragmented sounds merging into an indistinct backdrop against the pounding of her heart. Anxiety and determination entwined within her, coiling tighter with every passing minute. Caroline could almost hear her heartbeat echoing through the sterile expanse. "Why haven't I questioned this before?" she whispered to herself, realizing with a jolt that she had allowed complacency to steer her life. The familiar face of the nurse who entered the room felt both reassuring and disheartening. Caroline felt herself being shuffled back to a conversation that had been comfortable for too long until now. When the doctor entered, Caroline's grip on the arms of the chair tightened. The polite smile and customary greetings felt hollow. Echoes of her research danced at the edge of her consciousness, ready to leap forth the moment she found the courage. "I've been doing some research," she started, her voice trembling slightly. "And I have some questions." The doctor nodded, curiosity sparking in his eyes. Caroline glanced at Jamie, seated in the corner offering silent support, and felt her resolve strengthening. "What vitamins should I be concerned about, and why am I only now learning this?" She pressed, an unfamiliar fire bubbling within her. "Vitamin supplementation can be tricky," he began. As the doctor launched into an explanation about deficiencies, excesses, and the nuances of bioavailability, Caroline felt like a student in an enlightening lecture. It was invigorating yet disconcerting. "Are there certain vitamins I should avoid?" she finally asked, daring to confront the topic she dreaded most. "Definitely," he replied, eyes narrowing slightly. "Some of the commonly taken ones can interact negatively if mismanaged." Her pulse quickened. "I need to know the truth." "Caroline, it's all about balance," he said cautiously, navigating the discussion with care. "Then let us talk about balance," she countered boldly, feeling herself lean forward in her seat, the barriers of her long-standing reluctance beginning to friction against her newfound empowerment. As the conversation unfolded, Caroline started to weave together all the threads of her research, pairing them with insights from the doctor combining fears, revelations, and previously unasked questions. She was engaging, fully present, a dynamic participant in her own health narrative. But just as clarity began blooming amid the revelations, the doctor turned back from the computer screen, his expression shifting from informative to slightly foreboding. "I must caution that there are aspects we need to delve into further, and I want to discuss your anxiety." Anxiety. The harsh truth landed heavily in the air. It was a direct confrontation that cut through her burgeoning confidence. Her heart raced, the ground of certainty slipping away, and suddenly the empowering narrative she sought felt more elusive than ever. Could addressing this darker element open the door to further transformation? As her mind surged with a mix of fear and curiosity, Caroline wrestled with the implications, aware that to advance, she'd have to confront both her health and her heart. What lay ahead in this intricate journey towards self-discovery was unknowable, yet thrilling. The unfolding narrative was not solely about pills and dosages. It was about her identity and the choices that shaped her existence. With this realization came a new pang of resolve. The question loomed now, intertwining with her fears a tangle of hope and hesitation. What else was buried beneath the surface, waiting to be unearthed? Caroline sat rigid in the clinic chair as the silence stretched between her and the doctor, her pulse a rapid thrum in her ears. The mention of anxiety had sparked an unsettled energy, an unwelcome companion to her growing self-awareness. "Anxiety can manifest in many ways," he continued, watching her intently. "It can affect your health, your decisions, and even your relationships. Have you experienced anything lately that feels overwhelming?" Instinctively, she steeled herself. It was easier to dismiss this inquiry, to wave it off as something unworthy of focus as she had done for years. Yet something crucial shifted within her. "Yes," was the hesitant admission. The word felt like shedding heavy layers she had clung to for too long. "What are the primary stressors for you?" he asked, and she dared to probe the recesses of her mind, connecting the dots she had long ignored. The fear of never measuring up as a mother, the relentless self-judgments how she had failed to fully embrace her potential. It was all there, swirling in a chaotic fog. "I feel lost," she finally confessed, the confession leaving her lips lighter than expected. "Like I'm in a perpetual state of monitoring my body, my health, and I can't even keep up." His expression softened. "It's common, but facing this head-on requires strength that you've already shown today." His words ignited embers of resolve within her. "How do I even start?" she asked, feeling vulnerable, yet ready to confront the nebulous obstacles in her way. "Simple steps. We need to look at both your mental and physical health. Consider mindfulness practices, such as meditation or yoga. Let us also schedule therapy sessions." "You're not alone in this," he offered. The suggestion felt foreign yet exhilarating. She envisioned a Caroline who could navigate her complexities rather than hide behind them. As they discussed strategies, she felt a shift not just within herself, but in how they were engaging equal partners in her health journey, rather than a passive patient awaiting orders. Each suggestion he made fueled her drive to take ownership of her well-being, blending behavioral changes with practical actions to enhance her health. It'd be why the end of the appointment. Caroline rose from the chair with a sense of purpose brimming beneath her skin. I want to prioritize my health, but more than that, I want to prioritize myself, she declared. The words were powerful, reverberating with newfound authenticity. Back in the car, she turned the keys in the ignition but hesitated. She had a choice. She could drive home and revert to the self she knew, or she could break the cycle, redefine her narrative, and take the first step toward healing. Jamie's encouragement echoed in her mind. Let us talk, Mom. Okay, she whispered to herself, a small smile forming. Prompted by an unexpected wave of confidence, she typed out a quick text to Jamie, capturing her commitment to change. As the message sent, anxiety fluttered in her stomach, but it was intertwined with excitement. She would seek therapy and engage in activities that nurtured her spirit. Perhaps this was a turning point. Yet amidst this burgeoning resolve, a deeper question stirred. What would these changes reveal about her suppressed desires and unfulfilled ambitions? Would facing her anxiety dissolve the long-held narratives she clung to, or would it unearth feelings buried too deep to be managed? The ignition roared to life, and as she drove through the familiar streets, Caroline understood that she was now stepping outside the safe confines of her comfort zone. In her gut, she felt the pull of something exhilarating. Drastic change was imminent. As she approached the intersection toward home, she caught her reflection in a passing window. She looked different, somehow, already transformed. But beneath the surface, uncertainty loomed. Was she truly ready to dismantle the walls she had built for protection? This was just the beginning, and Caroline wasn't certain what awaited her. But one thing flickered brightly among the shadows: a reckless hunger for self-discovery. For authenticity. What else is buried beneath the surface? She contemplated, pushing forward with newfound resolve, oblivious to what awaited her around the next bend. Caroline parked her car in the driveway, the weight of the day pressing down on her like a thick blanket, yet the thin threads of resolve began weaving through her mind. She stepped out into the crisp air, feeling the coolness wrap around her, a stark contrast to the heat of her racing thoughts. As her hand rested against the door, hesitation gripped her. This was more than just returning home. It was the moment where she would confront the parts of herself she had tucked away. The scene felt awash in symbolism, each unturned stone in her life arriving at the forefront, daring her to explore, to unearth. Mom, Jamie called from inside. The sound reverberated through the quiet evening. As she stepped inside, the warmth enveloped her like a hug, but the uncertainty still buzzed beneath her skin. Hey, sweetheart, she replied, projecting an enthusiasm she wasn't sure she felt. Jamie appeared, her eyes bright with curiosity. How did it go? The question hung in the air, inviting her to dive in, yet part of Caroline yearned to retreat. She needed to articulate the nuances of her discovery, but the words felt entangled in her throat. It was good, she finally managed, choosing to keep it simple. I talked about some things. There was no hiding the glimmer of interest in Jamie's expression. Yeah, just about feeling overwhelmed and stuff, Caroline said, skirting around the details, unsure how to communicate the shifts occurring within her. Shifts still felt raw and unrefined, a landscape yet to be charted. Did you figure anything out? Jamie pressed, tilting her head slightly, her intuition sensing her mother's tentative grasp on the subject. Caroline hesitated, running her fingers through her hair, a habit she had developed when faced with uncertainty. I think I need to take better care of myself. A moment of silence passed, then Jamie nodded slowly, as if processing the significance of what that meant. And how do you plan to do that? I'm going to start therapy, practice mindfulness, maybe pick up yoga. The words spilled out, and for the first time, she watched her daughter's eyes widen with admiration instead of concern. What a great idea. Can I join you for yoga? It was a suggestion that stripped away any remnants of doubt, casting Caroline in a new light. Jamie wanted to be part of this journey. Caroline's heart swelled at the thought. Absolutely, we can do it together. They began discussing which classes to attend, and the excitement in Jamie's voice revitalized Caroline's spirit. It was easy, so unburdened, to consider ways to change the course of their routine, yet she couldn't shake the flicker of apprehension that lingered at the edges of her excitement. Mom. Jamie's voice brought her back from the edge of her thoughts. What else are you planning to change? This was where Caroline felt the ground underneath her unsteady. I don't know yet, she admitted, but I feel like I've only just started to peel back layers of myself I've ignored for so long. The room fell quiet, the weight of her revelations settling in. What else had she buried? The question lingered like a thread she hadn't yet pulled. Do you want to talk about it? Jamie asked, her voice gentle and encouraging. Caroline smiled slightly, feeling the connection intensify. Maybe in time. Right now, I'm focusing on the little things, the small victories. One step at a time. The evening progressed, and as they prepared dinner together, laughter filled the air, nudging away the shadows of discomfort. It was a glimpse into a partnership she hadn't anticipated with her daughter, a support system that could evolve as she did. But just as she settled into the moment, the realization hit her. If she continued on this path, she would have to confront the whispers of her past, her suppressed needs, her dormant ambitions. The notion loomed large, simultaneously daunting and alluring. As the aroma of dinner filled her senses, Caroline understood that renovation of self wouldn't come easy. What would she discover amid her efforts for change? What questions would arise when she dared to peel away those layers completely? As they sat down to eat, uncertainty thrummed lightly beneath her surface. She had embarked on a journey, but it felt curiously unfinished, like a book only halfway read. What lies ahead? She pondered silently, knowing the secrets hidden within herself were merely waiting to be unearthed. The time had come to face her deeper self in exploration that would demand fortitude beyond what she had shown today. The next morning brought with it a serene sunlight that streamed through the windows, illuminating the kitchen with a golden hue. Caroline stirred her coffee, the rich aroma enveloping her as she sat at the table, mentally preparing for the day ahead. Today held the promise of new initiatives and introspection that she had promised herself the night before. A realization that started as a quiet murmur now echoed with increasing clarity. As she sipped her coffee, Caroline couldn't shake the feeling of unease that trailed her thoughts. It wasn't merely the sheer weight of her past she was about to confront, but the realization that self-care extended beyond yoga classes and therapy sessions. It required a commitment to authenticity that would shake the very foundation of the life she had built. Determined to address one of the first changes, she rummaged through emails, finding the contact information for her therapist. With a deep breath, she drafted a message confirming her attendance at the upcoming session. The practice of advocating for herself was foreign yet exhilarating, pushing her toward an unfamiliar, empowering territory. Later that evening, after a long day of work, Caroline found herself at her computer, trying to muster the motivation to research yoga classes and mindfulness apps. As her fingers hovered over the keyboard, doubt resurfaced like a stubborn weed in her carefully tended garden. What if she committed to these classes, only to find that they didn't resonate with her expectations? What if she failed at yet another venture? The weight of potential failure loomed over her, threatening to dismantle her growing resolve. Yet, in that moment, Caroline had a fleeting memory of Jamie's excitement, the way her daughter's eyes lit up at the idea of yoga together. That connection fueled her fire, igniting a flicker of hope as she tapped her fingertips on the keys. Choosing a local studio specializing in beginner classes, she signed up for a couple session with Jamie. The thought of sharing this experience reinforced her intention to step from the shadows of her past into the potential of her future. Yes, there would be discomfort, but there would also be an opportunity for growth, a chance to mold herself anew. The adrenaline of optimism surged through her as she clicked confirm. Caroline felt a lightness in her chest, a sign that she was aligning with her evolving purpose. To further her journey, she pinned down a list that felt crucial. The first item read, "Identify my needs." She needed to understand what truly mattered to her, to discern her desires separate from what she thought others expected from her. The process wouldn't be easy. It required bravery in confronting not only her fears, but the uncomfortable truths about herself. As days unfolded, Caroline made an effort to dedicate snippets of her time to her growing list. She leaned into her discoveries, such as the passion for painting she had buried beneath her responsibilities. Each dab of color on canvas became a revelation, unveiling aspects of herself she had long ignored. Amidst these explorations, a creeping urge nudged at her peripheral vision. A deeper question of purpose began to surface. What was it that she genuinely sought beyond self-care? What ambitions lay dormant in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to emerge? These thoughts chased her from the easel back into the realm of uncertainty. While she sought to embrace self-care, could she also reignite her ambitions? One evening, while lighting a scented candle, she allowed herself a poignant moment of reflection. With Jamie away at a friend's house, Caroline felt the absence envelop her like an echo, amplifying the quiet in their home. It was during this silence that she realized a vital truth. Reclaiming her ambitions wasn't just about finding more hours in the day, but rather about redefining her sense of identity and what it represented at a deeper level. The desire swelled within her, an urge to not only pursue her ambitions, but to dismantle the fears tethering her to mediocrity. What if, beyond the self-care, there lay a roadmap for a renewed purpose? As the candle flickered, illuminating the dark corners of the room, Caroline felt a surge of determination. The path forward would require rigorous honesty with herself, a willingness to face whatever lurked in those shadows. What lay beneath the surface? As she prepared for her next therapy session, Caroline steeled herself for potentially intense revelations, aware that the journey ahead could awaken parts of her she thought were lost forever. Could the exploration of her ambitions push her toward something greater? The window was open, the air charged with the smell of possibility, as she prepared to leap into the unknown. What would she unearth next? Caroline entered the therapist's office with a mix of anticipation and trepidation. The air felt thicker, laden with the weight of expectations, both hers and those she perceived from the world around her. As she settled into the familiar chair, the ambience shifted. It was a space that demanded vulnerability. Let's talk about this need for self-discovery and ambition, her therapist encouraged, leaning forward slightly. That simple prompt sent a tremor through Caroline's core. With each spoken word, she peeled back layers of her carefully curated persona, exposing fears long buried. I want to know who I am beyond being a mother and a professional, but I'm terrified that I've lost the thread of who I once was. Her therapist nodded, as though encouraging the pursuit of that elusive thread. Caroline took a deep breath, pushing through the momentary clenching of anxiety that accompanied her revelation. I feel like I've been living in black and white, and now I want to burst into color. The isolation of her emotions filled the room, and she felt a flicker of hope. This was honesty, an act of reclamation. Yet, the heart of the matter loomed. What if pursuing these ambitions exposes more than I can handle? What if I lose the stability I've worked so hard to maintain? Each question laid bare the chaotic interplay of desire and fear. Her therapist gently probed deeper, encouraging her thoughts to swirl and flow. They discussed the essence of authenticity, of shedding the layers of expectation and embracing the person underneath. Caroline realized that this introspection was just the beginning. Gradually, fragments of her dreams floated to the surface: writing, painting, perhaps even public speaking. They were vibrant, colorful dreams that contrasted sharply with the monochrome existence she had experienced for too long. But could she seize them? In her reflected aspirations, she saw both the allure of possibility and an echo of doubt. As their session progressed, Caroline found herself articulating plans. I want to start a blog to share my journey. It scares me, but it excites me too. The words felt alive, breathing out through her. The idea of exposing her thought processes and creative endeavors to the world was daunting, but transformative. Her therapist smiled, recognizing the growth implicit in her statement. You're already taking significant steps. What would it mean if your blog became a dialogue, not just a monologue? A chance to connect, to reflect, and to inspire? The suggestion lingered in Caroline's mind. A dialogue. That was what she craved. The chance to share her feelings, to normalize the struggle, and perhaps even encourage others in their own journeys. But as she exited the session, The weight of potential repercussions loomed larger. What if sharing her thoughts alienated people from her life or attracted unexpected criticism? Returning home, Caroline's heart raced as she faced her canvas again. The empty space seemed to reflect the blank page of her potential blog. Words and colors intertwined in her mind, each stroke of paint inspiring sentences that could weave her experiences into a narrative. It was exhilarating and terrifying, a tumbling rush that demanded action. She retrieved her notebook and began jotting down ideas. If she were to step into the vibrant colors of her ambitions, she would need to deliberately embrace the risk of vulnerability. That night, sleep eluded her. Each thought spiraled into contemplation, visions of a blog, forthcoming conversations, worries over reactions danced in her mind. This was the churning point not just between fear and growth, but also between who she had been and who she was daring to become. With resolve, Caroline envisioned the first post, an exploration of her transition, honest and raw, connecting her present with her past. The prospect ignited a flame within her, crafting a path that was both daunting and thrilling. As the sky darkened outside, she scribbled, "What if the act of sharing my story not only liberates me but resonates with someone else?" Suddenly, aware that the risks she feared were nothing compared to the rewards that awaited, Caroline felt a shift within. Her ambitions were stirring, and the voice of her authentic self was finally beginning to emerge. With each flick of her pen, she knew she was closer to understanding the complexities of her identity. But questions compounded around her newfound path. What would happen when she truly opened the door to her ambitions? How would she confront the inevitable doubts that would surface? The flicker of possibility danced on the horizon. The journey was vibrant, unapologetic, and brimming with the unknown. What awaited her at the intersection of fear and empowerment? Caroline leaned closer to the canvas, ready to embrace the unveiling of her story. What new revelations would she discover as she painted her narrative? Caroline stood in front of the canvas, the late afternoon sun spilling golden light across her messy studio. Each brushstroke felt like a wave of purpose, a rejection of the passivity she had clung to for so long. She had committed herself to a new narrative, one that spoke of exploration, passion, and authenticity. After weeks of therapy, discussions with Jamie, and grounding herself in yoga practices, she could finally see the contours of her emerging self not merely as a mother, but also as a creator and an individual. As the paint mixed on her palette, Caroline recalled the long discussions with her daughter, remembering the hesitance, the vulnerability that had marked their journey. They had started down a path together, unraveling layers of fear and doubt, allowing a new bond to take root. The thought of sharing her story through a blog no longer terrified her. It invigorated her. Taking a deep breath, Caroline began to compose her first entry. The title popped into her mind, Reclaiming Vibrance, My Journey Beyond the Vitamin Bottles. It succinctly captured her transformation from uncertainty to clarity, a narrative of the steps that had led her here. As she poured her thoughts onto the page, she felt the thrill of risk accompanying each word. "I used to view health through a lens of obligation," she wrote. "Vitamins were a shield, protecting me from the unknown onslaught of aging. But what if the shield I trusted held more hidden pitfalls than I realized?" Caroline hesitated, considering her voice, yet she pressed on. "Being aware of what I take is crucial, but even more critical is the awareness of who I am beyond these routines and labels. I've spent decades prioritizing my family and responsibilities, but it's now time to prioritize me." The weight of that realization settled in her chest, but instead of fear, she felt empowerment surge through her. It was an affirmation of her right to exist as more than just a caretaker. By putting her thoughts into words, she found a pathway to connecting not only with herself, but also with others who might be yearning for similar clarity. As the words flowed, she interwove her recent experiences with Jamie and their newfound partnership in health and wellness. Their shared laughter over discovering the questionable efficacy of certain vitamins now emerged as a humorous anecdote, showcasing how their bond had deepened through this exploration of truth. She wanted to inspire others, whether they were lost in the labeled confines of aging, like her, or simply seeking meaning amid their daily grind. That a sudden ping on her phone interrupted her thoughts, an encouraging message from Jamie, checking in about her writing. It was with an effusive spirit that she responded, sharing snippets of her draft, excited to have someone to bounce her ideas off of without fear of judgment. Jamie's support was grounding, a testament to how far they had both come. With every word she typed, Caroline felt as if she were painting a vibrant self-portrait, each brushstroke embodying her desires, challenges, and strength. This piece would be a declaration of purpose, an invitation to others on similar paths. Her blog would no longer just be a monologue. It would become a dialogue, a community of shared experiences. Word after word transformed her evening into an exhilarating exploration, profoundly enriching not only her self-awareness, but also inspiring the images forming in her mind. As evening melted into night, she drafted subsequent entries, reflections on yoga, mindfulness exercises she had embraced, and resources that had empowered her. The act of creating an online platform to share these reflections filled her with a sense of accomplishment rarely felt before. Her final entry that night was a simple statement, monumental in its essence. Choosing health is choosing authenticity. It's multidimensional, a journey that begins with self-acceptance and propels us toward our vibrant truths. In the coming days, Caroline basked in the rejuvenating glow of commitment, attending her therapy sessions, now peppered with thoughts and discussions about her blog. She shared her drafts with her therapist, whose affirmations further bolstered her courage. Around the house, she initiated new routines, some with Jamie yoga sessions on bright mornings, and serving as a support system as they explored nutrition together. Each small victory redefined their mother-daughter relationship, and Caroline found herself weaving deeper connections with her daughter. Recognition from within herself transformed into external validation. The blog gained traction, sharing insights that resonated with others on similar journeys. Comments and messages poured in, uplifting her spirits with each shared connection built on mutual awakening. Days turned into months, as Caroline not only became adept at nurturing her mental health, but also began to reclaim pieces of herself that she had long thought buried. She soon found herself scheduling workshops for art and expression, allowing her passion for painting to turn into a conduit for growth. Yet, the most profound recognition came when she stood before a gallery displaying some of her artwork, a brave collection reflecting her journey of self-discovery. As she mingled with friends and family, a sense of unshakable confidence enveloped her. She had transformed her fears into a palette of vibrant experiences. As Caroline gazed at her work, she realized how intertwined her journey had become with her achievements. She felt a compelling sense of acceptance, loving herself as she blossomed into the vibrant person she had always yearned to be. And no longer would she allow doubts or fears to shackle her dreams. She was unearthing layers of her being, standing firmly in the light. The call to connect, express, and explore beckoned her ever forward. What began as an inquiry into health and wellness spiraled into an entire renaissance of self. It was a personal achievement that constructed a newfound foundation on which to flourish, firmly rooted in self-awareness and authenticity, poised for whatever paths lay ahead. Now is the moment for you to take action. Transform your own journey, just as Caroline did. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories that inspire growth. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support for stories that resonate. Comment with your reactions and theories about Caroline's transformative journey. Your thoughts are valued here. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this empowering conclusion and embark on their own journey of discovery. This is your opportunity to engage. Don't wait even one more second